I asked, and y'all delivered. We're doing a Dating Horror Stories Part 2. It's spooky season. Let's do it. Roll that intro.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the...
Welcome back to another episode of the Problems on Problems podcast. I am your host, Mike Santi. And this week, like the horrible audio of that intro said, we're doing... What are we doing? Oh, we're doing Dating and DM Horror Stories Part 2. An annual tradition like no other, in which we tell you guys or expose to you guys the scary part of the dating world. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, brace yourselves for the... what I can only describe as pure shithousery or tomfuckery. You choose which one you want. Let's talk about it. We'll start off with, let's start off with just the plain hurtful stories, where we'll start off with, this one's a little sad. They roasted me on TikTok for a year. Now, this one, for a little bit more context, just so you don't think that there's just like random TikTok roasting. This profile ended up like this person's ex made a TikTok profile in which a lot of their content for about a year or so was them roasting their ex, and it did well. It did well. We're talking about like thousands of people seeing your ex roast you. And so, yeah, I feel that one. I'm sorry that happened to you, but we move on. There's the simple waiting 2 years for someone that can't commit. And to that, I say, honestly, people, I don't know anymore. That sounded weird. I don't know anymore. In this day and age of dating, like, what? I don't really know what we're doing. So I don't know what y'all are doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Who knows? I'd probably say... you might as well take it kind of like in a 9-month rule, or have what I've come to be accustomed to as a 9-month rule, in which if by month 9 of you guys dating, you don't really see it going any further, I think, and now mind you, live enough life, do your things, blah, blah, blah. But I think the older you get, you kind of know what you like and what you don't like. And so after about 9 months, if it's just not clicking and you're just not into it or don't see it progressing any further, I think it's best for both parties to just acknowledge, like, hey, this is where it ends, kind of thing, or this is like the length of the relationship. And that doesn't necessarily mean like that the relationship failed or anything like that. It's just that it's run its course. And so instead of waiting around for 2 years, unless someone explicitly tells you like, yo, I want to get married to you, but I'm going to date you for 2 years just to make sure that that's actually still possible or that's a thing. Unless explicitly told about that, I would say, yeah, after about 9 months, like, keep it moving. I'm not a fan of wasting anybody's time, and I feel like 9 months is a good assessment as to like if this is going to be a long-term thing or if this is just like a okay for now thing. So I don't know, maybe play it out, do that, waste less time in relationships, but to each their own. I know some people that, after about like months of dating a person, they're ready to propose. And I know some people that it takes a few years. Everyone's different. But yeah, if you're still in that dating game, I would say give it about 9 months and then keep it moving. And then, honorable mention, this one for sure, as if it's not already in there, but I feel like this one needs a specific title. But this goes to the ex that broke up with their significant other for someone who, how do I express this? My ex broke up with me for someone he said was his cousin, but lied. And to that, we'll get more into this later, but I feel like guys, girls, whatever, it's 2021. Like, if you're lying, I guess you would say, if you're still lying, like, we got to figure out some stuff because something's not going on correctly in your life, and you got to get that right with yourself, inside, and the universe and the Lord. But yeah, just I don't know, just don't, like, what's the point of, like, if you're at the point where you're lying about people like who they are to your significant other. Gosh, English is going to be hard. I'm jumped up, hyped up on this espresso. Made me a little cafecito. Doesn't help with the ADHD, but we keep moving. But to bring it back, yeah, if you're at a point where you're lying to your significant other about like who somebody is in relation to you, it's already a bad sign. It's kind of like that idea that like if you feel the need to have to go through your significant other's phone, like sneak through it instead of just flat out asking them, I feel like it's already a bad sign. But we move on. That has nothing to do with anything. We get into the strange ones where, okay, I kind of enjoy this one just because I didn't think this happened in real life. But this person went on 2 dates with a lawyer. And on the third date, or before the third date, found out that that person was arrested for dealing heroin. And to that, is law school that bad? Like, is being a lawyer that bad? I thought the whole idea was like to, make money and stuff like that. Sure, other people do it for like the intangibles, like justice. But I think a lot of people are in it for the money. And in which case I would say, how did you not know that you were going to get caught? Like everybody, you eventually always get caught, I think. I'm going to say you eventually always get caught. Yeah, and especially if you're dealing heroin. Like, did you think you were going to turn this into like some weird heroin version of like Breaking Bad and like do something crazy with it? Like, what? Dealing heroin. Guys, it's heroin. I'm leaving it at that. It's heroin. Then you move on to, this one. First time. A guy brought me out around his friends. I got super drunk and lost my phone. Had to go back the next morning to the bar to find it or to get it. And to that, I say, to that, I say, do better. I mean, it sounds like you found your phone or you got your phone anyways. But yeah, if you're drunk to the point where like you lose your phone at the bar that you've been at for a few hours, it's probably a good sign for you to go home. I mean, do your thing, live your life. But if you're losing phones and then finding them, if you're misplacing phones in a public location because of your level of intoxication, who knows? Live your life. Move in your truth. Do your thing. There are no rules, all right? Do whatever you want. But yeah, I don't know. Keep track of your belongings or have a password in mind that when people present you with the opportunity to find your iPhone, you remember your Apple ID, and in which case, it's easier to find. I'm guessing that might have been an issue as well if you had to go back the next day because, it's technology. You could use Find My iPhone. If it was an iPhone, if it was an Android, I really don't know what you guys do when you lose your phones. So if you guys know, let me know. Let me know down in the comments. How do we find Androids when we lose them? Then the next one. Oh, this is a good one. Went on a date with someone who said they had a tickling fetish. I tried it out, but no. We're not here to kink shame people. If tickling's your thing, cool. I'm glad you at least put it out there for someone to try to help out your fetish, if you want to call it that. It is a fetish, yeah. But yeah, it's just not me. But like, good for you for going out there, because I mean, numbers game. You're eventually gonna find somebody that's also into tickling. So keep doing your thing, keep living your truth. But yeah, man, I feel like there's apps and communities for that you could just like go to and not worry about. And then these two were wild. These two were wild in the sense that, oh great, let me log into the gram because my phone's not over here. This one's really I really don't know how to set this one up except for the fact that it's wild that this still happens in a modern age. But someone submitted in that we'll just go direct quotes. Found out my boyfriend of 5 years had 4 different girlfriends in 3 different states, 4 different cities. 2 of them knew about me for years. It was truly a lesson in psychopathic tendencies. And to that, I say, yeah, for sure. Like, what? It's the age of modern technology. And I guess for the same reason why you would be completely called out on and caught in cheating nowadays is probably the reason why more people do it as well, because it's kind of like you have access to more resources. But in that same vein, people have access to more resources to find out and connect to like what you're doing. And the fact that you did this for 5 years, my guy, are you like a spy? Do you work for the CIA or some shit like that? Because what? And to find out that like I know there's such things as open relationships, but in what context is an open relationship? I would probably say one where everybody's communicating about the openness of said relationship. And if one person thinks that they're your only significant other, whereas other people think they're just one of X amount of numbers, I think there's definitely a disconnect, especially if you're keeping it from that one or that many. And like, what? I'll say this. If you want to do single shit, be single. If you want to do coupley stuff, be in a couple or communicate that to people. But best said by Nick Miller, you get one wife. You get one wife. That's the way the world works. You can't just be going around acting as though you're single as fuck, doing whatever you want, having all these different, not even single as fuck, the fact that you have all these different relationships, like that's red flags. Like either you need to be single and entertaining many people, or you need to figure out why it's that many people or it takes that many people to make you feel some type of way. I don't really know what to tell you, but hey, get your shit together. I'm glad that this person, knowing them, they've moved on to better things. They're doing a lot better in their relationships with not that person. So yeah, good for you. But also whoever is doing this, like keeping that many girlfriends, like at least communicate a guy, let's do that. And then the final one, this one, do I have time for this? Yeah, I got time for this. This one is just, it really does deserve its own award as like peak fuckboy behavior. And that's really all I have to say in that this person writes, and mind you, this is a horror story that they created. So they were the horror to this. Horror. Now it's going to sound weird the rest of the episode. But this one girl that I was talking to knew I didn't really want to pursue a relationship after a couple dates. She was really into me though, so I just kept stringing her along, maybe a little bit too much. Red flag number one, there's some self-awareness and you know what you're doing. I had a job interview in a town about 3 hours away, and I had to take a bus for it. Or I had to take a bus to and from a city that was an hour away from where I was staying. So for those of you that need to keep up, man lived an hour away from the nearest bus that would take him 3 hours away to this job interview. So he lives 4 hours away, or he's going 4 hours away from where he lives. On the way back, the bus got delayed and it wasn't going to make it to its hub until midnight. So I had the girl pick me up from the hub, which was about an hour away from where I lived, and drop me off at my place. Once we got there, she surprised me with a gift, and I proceeded to call it off with her. Still took the gift though. Ladies and gentlemen, fuckboy of the year, the grand prize of dating and DM horror stories. Yes, the multiple relationships is a bad one, but fully knowing that you did not want anything with this person, having them perform an act of service, a big one, because that's a 2-hour round trip just to get your ass back home, and to then accept this gift, tell them how you feel, and not return the gift, but to keep it because you were like, yeah, I deserve this. I mean, hey, there's no excuse for it. I mean, I personally believe that every person, guy or girl, goes through some type of fuckboy stage. If you want to call it a host phase, a hoe phase, whatever you want to do. I think everyone goes through some version of that before they realize, like, oh shit, you can't do that to people, and you kind of move on. So yeah, good luck to you. But I guess that's the worst one that I have this year. We'll do this again next year. gosh, we might even do it for Valentine's Day because I love the drama. But thank you guys to everyone that submitted your stories. I hope for the most part, a lot of you guys are better in moving on from said stories, but we'll take a break. We'll talk about Halloween and giraffes, and then we'll wrap it up and send you guys off for a spooky weekend.
P.O.P.
And we're back with the great debate. Last week, I asked you, where would a giraffe wear its tie? At the top of its neck or the bottom of its neck? And 83% of you said the bottom of its neck, which you know what, for the most part, I agree. Here's my thing. I feel like it's a weird phrase question or a trick question, but really I'm going to say that, like, if he's wearing a Euro tie or a long neck tie, I think it goes at the bottom of his neck. If it's a bow tie, I think it goes at the top of his neck. That's just me. That's the story I'm sticking to. But 83% of you said that if a giraffe were wearing a tie, they would wear it at the bottom of their neck. This week, since we're talking about exes, since we talked about all these horrible things that would happen in relationships or while dating, I'm going to ask you, would you rather say your ex's name in bed or your significant other's best friend? Think about it. Whose name would you rather say in bed? Your ex's name or your significant other's best friend's name? Either way, oof. You know what, for me, I'm going to 1,000% say I'd rather say my ex's name, because at least there was something going on there. Could have been a Freudian slip, something in the subconscious. I'm not gonna let you. We're not gonna talk about what I say in bed. That's not a thing. But yeah, I would rather say my ex, someone who you actually had a relationship with, because on the other end, could you imagine? I mean, I'm imagining right now, but the idea that you would say your significant other's, if I said my girlfriend's best friend's name in bed, are you insane? The amount of shitstorm that would come my way. What? There's so many more questions that need to be answered. There's so much more unknowns going on. I'm gonna say I'd rather say no names in bed. That's just me. But in the case of this debate, I'm gonna go on the side of the exes. But let me know in the comments. Let me know in the polls. And we'll talk about it next week. But we move on to the Friday follows. And I wish I could scroll. But the first Friday's follow is SpookyCLT. Do you want to know more than you thought you needed to know about creepy locations in Charlotte, buildings that once existed, some stories with a little dramatic twist? Then follow SpookyCLT for all of your spooky Charlotte needs. Make sure you go follow him at SpookyCLT on Instagram. The next one is my nephew, my son, whatever you want to call him, MacDaddyMorris. Very talented young individual who does a lot of skating content and hair content. And my man's got luxurious locks. Okay, I'm going to say that right now. All the pause on that, but you know how I feel. Yeah, go follow him at MacDaddyMorris on Instagram. But that's it for this week, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the Problems on Problems podcast YouTube channel. Go follow us at Problems on Problems podcast on Instagram, at Problems_pod on Twitter that I still don't use. And per usual, follow your boy Mike Santi 18 on all social media. And like I always say, guys, if it's not a good time, hope it's a good story, and I will see you next week.